What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 10 of Press YYZ, a video game podcast, where you can hear your host slowly descend into madness due to social isolation. You can find us on Twitter at Press YYZ, where we appreciate any feedback you may have. I'm your host, Mitch George, joined today by the big boss himself, Alexander Cozy Kozina.
Hi, I'm actually not descending into madness because this is normally what my life is like 95% of the time.
That makes one of us. Also on the show today, we've got the film baby, Alex Ballant.
I've lost all sense of time and space. Please help me. Hi.
Nathan McInerney.
You got it. Woo!
I had to. I took a second, I thought about it, and I got it.
I'm also descending into madness, but it's because I'm stuck in here with 3 children. Somebody please take them. Can I sell them? Is that possible?
It might be illegal. Finally, we've got, with his head in the clouds, AJ Fraser.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
So what's everyone been up to?
Wow, you're really playing into this, huh?
Not playing into it. We're all slowly going mad.
That is you certainly chose an original song there, AJ.
Yeah, I wrote it myself. Very original.
Oh, did you?
Fun fact.
How's everyone's week been? How much Netflix have you consumed?
I mean,
who else has put too many hours into Animal Crossing?
Like, I'm not joking when I say that this past week has, for myself, genuinely been one of the better weeks over the past few months. I completed both the second Casino Flower Kind of Funny Direct and a recent project for gamers, and ever since then I haven't been chillaxing exactly, but I have been able to rest easy and get to a bunch of projects that I haven't been able to get to for the past couple of weeks. And in that regard, I've really just been kind of at ease in a way I haven't been for the past little while.
I'm glad to hear you feel well. I'm going insane.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's everyone else dealing with this change in working and living situation?
So remember how last week you asked us if we've been spending too much money on video games?
I said
Yeah.
I had been.
Yeah. Now I've joined you. I've spent way too much money on games the last week. So I guess to kick it off, I bought yesterday on Tuesday, March 31st, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered.
Which shadow dropped.
Yeah, which surprisingly, I am really surprised that they decided to release it. Like, they've now had 2 Call of Duty games shadow drop in the same year, in the same month as well. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, technically that and Warzone both came out in March.
Yeah. And so I'm surprised they didn't save this to package it in with whatever the next Call of Duty game was going to be. Like, because that's what they did with Call of Duty 4 Remastered, or Modern Warfare Remastered. But yeah, it's Modern Warfare 2. It's a very good game. It's my literal childhood, as I said on Discord yesterday.
I thought Halo was your childhood.
Oh, I mean, they both are.
How does No Russian hold up?
Oh, it's way more uncomfortable than it was 10 years ago. Or I guess it was 11 years ago.
As someone who played it 11 years ago, it was pretty damn uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's way more haunting now because, like, they've added a bunch of new animations, and I don't know if these animations were in the game already, like, just in general, not just in that mission, but, like, it felt a lot realer, and that was very uncomfortable. And just it looks really good, and it sounds way better, but that mission especially was like, oh, it's real uncomfortable. But I decided to play it because you can skip it normally, and you still can. Yeah. I decided to play it for this first playthrough back because I haven't played the game in many years, and just because it is such an essential part of the story of that game, unfortunately, that it's kind of like it really adds a lot more weight and gravitas to the story that you are a part of this horrible event and you think that you're about to get the drop on this bad guy, and then it turns out, nope, you're not. And so, I don't know. It was really uncomfortable, but the rest of the game is solid, a lot of fun, and looks great, and Modern Warfare 2 is such a good game.
So it's just the campaign, right? Like, there's no multiplayer included whatsoever?
There's no multiplayer and no Spec Ops either, which I was a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed to find no Spec Ops at least, but I mean, it was also a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. It's about $25 Canadian, a little over $25.
$26.99, I think.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
You could say that they drew the line at Spec Ops.
I mean, it was also developed by a Canadian developer, Beanox, and who are very well known for having developed one of my favorite games on the last generation, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. And it just it hurts me inside to see them relegated to being a Call of Duty satellite studio.
I mean, that's a lot like Raven Software, which, if I recall correctly, developed this remaster of the game, right?
They developed the Modern Warfare Call of Duty 4.
Yeah, they did
remaster.
they did the first
Beanox.
Modern Warfare remaster. Beanox did Modern Warfare 2.
Got it.
And Raven, to just, you know me with superheroes, to tie them back into a superhero video game, were the original developers behind the X-Men Legends series.
Right.
Which is what
as
became
well as,
Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and we've seen that as recently as the Switch.
Yeah, and they're also behind a lot of other beloved classics like the Heretic and Hexen games back in the day, Singularity back in 2010. Yeah, it's unfortunate what happens to some of these developers when they kind of get pulled into the Call of Duty vortex.
Unfortunately, it's nice to reminisce about these studios, but Nathan, I know you've been playing something that's a little more modern in Animal Crossing. Tell us, how many hours?
So, I don't want you guys to look at me badly.
We already
I'm
do.
probably plus 75 hours into Animal Crossing.
Oh my god.
God damn.
In like a week, right? Weekend at bit?
My house now has a upper stairs floor.
You're
I built 4 bridges in my town.
You're way down the rabbit hole.
Yep.
Whoa. I'm not nearly that.
Did a fishing trip yesterday that netted me almost 300,000 bells.
Jesus. I've gotten the Money Island a couple times. That was nice.
I've not gotten any of these. The only one that I've gotten is Bamboo so far, and I've gone to many islands.
I keep getting the same like 3 islands recycled every single time I try and go. Like,
Dude, me too.
It's really obnoxious.
So I'm figuring out how to work the system in the game. A lot of people are using their fishing pole or their jumping poles to scare away smaller fish in rivers, which is how you get the bigger fish, and you can get a better chance at catching them. At this point, as of yesterday, because this morning started the new Bunny Day event and all the new additions, but I had every single insect and fish that was available to catch.
Yeah, you have a problem, sir.
A bunch of stuff came available this morning. This is going to feed my collector's collection addiction for the next year, because every month there will be more stuff for me to get.
Do you think moving forward you'll be able to, at the very least, keep one of these cherry blossom trees that seems to have sprouted up all over the island?
I think they're
I think
seasonal.
they're going to go.
I just want to keep one. Just one.
So
just let me keep one.
Because they're all the regular trees.
Yeah.
They've just all sprouted. Now, the bonus is right now is that you can easily identify your non-fruit trees from your fruit trees if you want to move them around.
But your money,
before it was harder.
your money trees are cherry blossom trees, so you got to be careful with that.
Yes.
So
Well, your money tree only grow money once, though, my wife told me.
that is
She's
correct.
the
Yeah,
expert.
every time one grows, I end up chopping it down just to clear up the space. But I know while you've been having fun collecting, AJ, you tried to get us all to buy into your stock market idea in Animal Crossing. So you want to explain a little bit more about what you've been trying to get us to do there?
Yeah, so Natalie Watson, formerly of the Waypoint crew over at Vice Media, she created a spreadsheet where multiple people can participate and add in the value of turnips every day. Now the value changes twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening, and there's specific patterns that you can follow to try and basically it's insider trading on the stock market.
Stock spelled STALK because they're turnips.
Yes.
And
We're all going to become billionaires.
we're going to try, except the only people participating in this forum are you and I.
Nathan's been
Has
in
he?
there.
I forgot to fill it in.
I
did the first day.
think we need to, pick it back up, guys.
I couldn't find the turnip seller on Sunday.
Oh,
so
no.
I didn't buy any.
Well, you can still tell us
I
what your
just
prices
couldn't-
are so we can sell our turnips.
Oh, I could actually be
Because
helpful.
we just
Okay,
come
I'll
to
do
your
that.
town.
Well,
I saw in a group that somebody had their per turnip price at 600 coins, and they were charging people 10% to come to their town.
I think
to
the
sell
maximum it can get up to is 800 is what I read on Twitter. But the interesting thing, so Alex, for next Sunday, you have to try to find the turnip seller before noon. They leave at 12 p.m. on
That's
Sunday.
probably
So if
why.
you're sleeping on Sunday,
Okay.
you're slacking and you're missing out on them sweet, sweet turnips.
Okay. Well, I might be screwed because my sleep schedule is literally upside down now. I am a night dweller now. So
And it all started
I don't
with
know
Doom
how
Eternal.
well this is gonna happen.
So, like, what exactly is going on in this game that everybody seemed to be all about peaches a couple of weeks ago, and now it's all about turnips? What is it about turnips that make them so appealing?
Because you can sell them for money.
It's about profit,
You
yeah.
buy.
Oh, really?
You buy
You
low.
can also,
you sell
you
high.
can also sell
Yeah.
peaches for money. To be fair,
See,
It's
that's
not
but-
the same.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of disappointing to hear, because I was prepared to hear, oh, they actually really look like
Penises.
expletive removed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're phalluses, yes. No, they're not phallically inclined, unfortunately.
You sure?
As far as I can tell, unless you guys have some weird looking penises, these turnips do not look like penises.
Hey, do you guys have any rotting turnips yet? Do you guys need one?
I will need one eventually. I was on the island of Mike, one of our listeners, and he had some rotting turnips, but the ants he made the ants disappear when I got there to spite me, I guess. Which I didn't appreciate, but whatever. He still lets me sell my fruit there.
Somebody gave me a rotten turnip.
is the purpose of that just to collect
Yeah.
the bug?
Yeah, to get the
Okay.
ant.
I got the fly. I didn't get the ant. I need to get the ant still.
Yeah, I've got the fly and the ant. Somebody gave me their turnip so I could get their ant because that was the last thing I was
Nice.
missing. And apparently you can get fleas. Somebody caught a flea today.
Weird. All right, I know everyone's been talking Animal Crossing, so and Cozy, you have anything else you've been doing other than chilling, or?
No, I mean, I need to get around to finally completing my custom PC that I'm in the process
Saw
of
that.
building.
I saw your
yeah.
parts. I'm so jealous.
I mean, a lot of what I'm doing right now really is just completing portions of larger projects that I'll be able to fully unveil at a later date. Like, I've been working on, for example, my third Kazina for Kind of Funny Direct. I can officially say that, but like, I will not be able to show off the fruit of my labors for some time to come.
That's understandable.
So I apologize that I can't go more in depth, but that's just kind of the state of things.
So I actually got my hands on a code for a game that I couldn't stop playing. If I could talk about that for a minute, and that game is Creature in the Well. So it launched earlier in 2019, I think, on Xbox, Switch, PC, but only just this past week came to the PS4. And I think I beat it in 2 sittings and platinumed it right away. I couldn't stop playing this game. It's a real interesting mashup of genres. So it is a hack and slash game at its core, but it also has elements of pinball and brick breaker games in it. And I couldn't stop playing it. It had its hooks in me because like all of those are things that I really, really like out of games. I've talked previously with you guys either on the show or offline that the first game I ever remember playing was Alleyway on the original Game Boy, which was a brick breaker starring Mario. So it's like I'm deeply rooted in those kind of genres, and it really it scratched an itch that I haven't had a game scratch that way in a very, very long time. I could not stop playing it.
Wow. So, briefly, back in 2018, shortly after Kind of Funny Prom, I returned home to Montreal, and I've talked in the past about how I played Bloodroots at this video game mixer / preview event for the indie game development scene in Montreal. I went to one of those indie game mixers shortly after Kind of Funny Prom, and as it would happen, Geneviève Saint-Onge Miller, aka the wife of Greg Miller, was there, and she was actually showing off this game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so full disclosure, this
Yeah.
code was provided to us by Pop Agenda, which is the company that Jen Miller does run. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt, but I freaking love this game.
And so I'll say, at the time, I didn't overly love it. I thought it was perfectly fine for what it was. I just found that the attacks, I feel like attacks isn't really describing it right. Like a lot of the mechanics of the game involving, hitting the ball, like a lot of the pinball-y stuff just, I felt lacked oomph. And I mean, I'm happy to hear that it seems like it turned out really, really well.
So it might have been the level you were playing, because as you progress through each of the levels, like each level is really sort of it's self-contained. It has its own theme, where the enemies are attacking you with specific patterns, or there's like one level that's full of dynamite, for example, and you have to find ways to hit all of the targets without triggering the dynamite, because it's more likely to kill you. and you unlock more weapons as you progress through the game. So there's a weapon that is a magnet. So when you have two attacks, you have like a charge attack, which grabs any of the projectiles that are either around you or thrown at you by enemies. And then you have a secondary attack that basically shoots them out. And you get you can customize different weapons, one for the charge and one for the regular attack. So yeah, you can have things like a magnet that'll pull in all of the projectiles. You have things like there's like a thunder hammer where every projectile, everything that the projectile hits is then chains lightning to others near it. So you're more likely to take out a group of bumpers at the same time. And it actually gets really difficult towards the end. I had to replay one of the bosses probably a good dozen times because I just couldn't wrap my head around what the puzzle was for that specific boss and how to resolve it. And the resolution was actually to use this one weapon I hadn't even touched throughout the game, which is sort of a longer weapon. So it has a larger area of capturing the projectiles that are thrown at you. So I was essentially able to guard a piece of dynamite on one edge of the stage and stay out of the range of a second piece that was like a second piece of dynamite that was at the bottom. So it was kind of wrapping my head around the puzzly elements of this action hack and slash pinball inspired brick breaker that I couldn't stop playing it.
How much is this?
I have no idea. Give me a second.
I mean, like, here's the thing. Obviously I want to support ye olde Montreal.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, they have a studio. Part of their studio is in Montreal, and it's $15 US. So convert that into your currency of choice. Probably close to about $20 Canadian.
Sure. And I mean, obviously I love a quick platinum, but I don't know at the end of the day if this is something that's explicitly for me, but I appreciate you bringing it back onto my radar.
Yeah, I would say if you're not into you're essentially only attacking when being attacked by enemies, or if you're not into the back and forth of dealing with the enemy attacks while also figuring out what to target with the projectiles you capture, maybe if that kind of doesn't sound appealing to you, maybe it isn't the game for you. But for me, with my experience in those genres, with my love of hack and slash and pinball and brick breakers, it was just this weird perfect storm for me. I friggin' loved it.
Yeah.
Anyone else got anything else they want to bring to the table before we get into the news?
I was just going to jump in quickly because we're talking about brick breakers. I was going to bring it up at the end of the show, but I did review Sacred Symbols or Twin Breaker, the Sacred Symbols podcast or adventure game. Sorry, I messed up the title in my head here. Twin Breakers, a Sacred Symbols adventure, and it's a really neat brick breaker as well. So it's more like your traditional brick breaker with 8-bit looks and stuff to it, but you control two different ships at the bottom of the screen, each with the one with the left and one with the right. And they can, one's like half the, then they're both half the screen that they protect. So, and then the game will shift as you're playing, and the two paddles will now go onto the sides of the screen. And it looks more like you're playing Pawn. And then later in the game, there's actually 4, and you control all 4 with the 2 sticks. It's a little complicated, but it's really fun to play, and it's got boss modes and everything in there, and a lot of different unique modes.
That sounds a lot like a PS3 game that I remember playing, and I cannot remember for the life of me what it was called. Shatter. Yes, I friggin' loved Shatter. Is it anything like that, where you're really having to balance like what's going on where and things like that?
I think so. So to disclose, I never played Shatter.
You monster.
But I know. So this is developed, or Colin Moriarty helped write this, who used to be part of Kind of Funny and now has his own podcast, Sacred Symbols. He really, when he was on Beyond, really spoke highly of Shatter, and I think there's a lot of influence, which is why he went with this design.
Half of all the videos that Colin and Greg did back in the day were about Shatter.
Shatter was so good.
And then the other half were all about asking where Shatter 2 was and it not appearing.
Yes. So Colin went and made his own type Shatter, but it's really good. I think I'd have to check my review, but I believe I gave it a 7 out of 10. It's just really fun.
What did you think of the story? Because I know that's kind of one of the niche things about it, is that they have a story in a brick breaker.
So the story's very Colin, if I can put it that way. His libertarian views really show through in the story, because it's talking about how like the United States needs to send people out, and because they've decided to stay out of all wars, they're like the neutral in the world. and so they're helping. But really, it's about him and Chris, his partner, as they go through. A touch I really liked. So the two paddles, they're the ships that they pilot, and one's called Salutations and the other one's called Greetings. So there's some nods to the podcast, to the history in there. It's a little verbose and it's very Colin. I did enjoy a lot of when you get a certain, I believe it's A grade on the levels, you'll get a little more synopsis of what's going on in the world. So
that sounds really cool. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say, obviously, I don't really follow Colin super closely anymore. I am happy that he got to have this game made and got to play a large part in its creation. It is a little bit, like, this does kind of strike me as a bit of a monkey pie wish of, hey, Colin, you're going to be able to help make one of the last PlayStation Vita games, and it's going to be one of the last PlayStation Vita games that gets, like, a physical release. Oh, cool. But it's going to be a brick breaker. Like, I feel like knowing that guy's preferences, he would have much rather preferred to work on, like, a Final Fantasy Tactics style game or something of that nature.
I mean, I'm sure that they looked out for the project that appealed most to them, and maybe that opportunity just didn't present itself the way that this one did. And I'm happy to see that they're... Yeah. I'm like you, Cozy. I haven't followed it as much since he left Kind of Funny. But I am happy to see that he's enjoying what he's doing, and I'll probably check this out at some point when I have free time, because I keep spending money on games.
Well, it's $10. It's PS4 and Vita, 2 separate trophy lists. The trophies are all based on song titles.
It might be worth busting out the Vita.
It's a really well thought out trophy list. Yeah, and it's really good on the Vita. I really, really liked it there.
I was going to say that's a very nice price point.
That's not bad at all. But speaking of libertarian views, I actually consumed a piece of content on Netflix that touched on libertarian views, and that's the documentary series Tiger King.
I haven't seen this yet. I don't understand what it's about.
I keep seeing screenshots and stuff.
Yes,
go
this has taken the internet by storm with everyone having to stay home and watch Netflix. But essentially what it is the story of Joe Exotic, who is he is a big cat zoo owner. He's gay. He abuses most of his employees. He's in a war, essentially, with other big cat zoo owners, as well as PETA, as well as a bunch of humanitarian organizations. And the documentary series was essentially just supposed to be about big cat zoos, and things hit the fan real quick. If you know anything about him, he did try to run for president at one point and ended up on John Oliver's show, which is how I was introduced to him. And when I saw that clip come up during Tiger King, I'm like, oh my god, it's this guy. And it's something. It is absolutely a trip. It is exactly the kind of content I needed for this quarantine. Things go downhill fast for Joe. It's it's crazy.
A quick question about it: is it a series or is it a one individual documentary?
So it is a 7-part documentary series.
Okay. How long are each episode?
Roughly 45 minutes long. I got through it in a couple of days because I'm stuck inside and have nothing else to do. But it is one of those series where I had to watch the next episode. So the Netflix, it's starting in 5 seconds. I can watch one more. And it's 2 a.m. But yeah, that was, I didn't, part of me watching it was to understand what the social zeitgeist was around it right now. And I'm pretty glad I did, because it's a messed up story. So before we get into the news, anyone else have anything else they want to add in, or are we just going to jump right into it?
I got a couple things. One is I played a little bit of Pokemon Go, despite I went outside. Actually, you technically can, as long as you. So this was an interesting experience. Actually, go ahead. Yes, for now, it was actually somewhat of an interesting experience because a lot of people. Yes, with the quarantine and everything, you're kind of cooped up inside. You're not supposed to go places, right? But you can still technically go out for walks. So a lot of people out on the street walking around my town. And it's really interesting seeing how seriously everybody's actually taking the social distancing. You'll see the odd person here and there walking around with rubber gloves and stuff. But... some people will make like a wide berth around you if you're walking on the sidewalk. They'll they'll stand at the end of a driveway and wait for you to pass, or maybe you do vice versa. Everybody's like being super respectful of the current state of the world right now, and that was super weird to see, but also kind of cool to see.
It's interesting though, because I have some family that work in essential services, and they're all getting emails today or over the last couple of days with a letter that will allow them to, they will have to present to the local law enforcement if asked to give a valid reason why they're out and about. So I feel like we're getting pretty close to a total lockdown here in Canada, at least in southern Ontario. It's going to happen, I think.
I've heard about this too. The rumors of that are going around at work right now to, it seems like it's going to be mostly for, if I were going to my girlfriend's place in the city or something like that, that would be a big no-no.
I haven't seen my fiance in person since this whole thing started, because she's quarantined, or she's isolating with her family, because there wasn't room for us both to work remotely from my apartment. And yeah, it sucks.
Yep.
I just want to say quickly, you actually reminded me. So this past Friday, the 27th of March, was supposed to be the day that I was supposed to be in the United States, in St. Louis, Missouri, participating in the Pokemon Go Safari Zone event. It's all right. Basically, when they announced that the event was being postponed, they gave us the option to either get our ticket refunded or to keep our ticket. And if we kept our ticket, we would be able to attend the Safari Zone event on a later date that is yet to be announced, obviously. And also, on the date that the event was supposed to happen, all the Pokemon that would have appeared at the event would appear randomly in the wild, just for the people that still were holding on to the tickets. So I did walk around a little bit in my neighborhood on the 27th to take advantage of that. And I will say, on one hand, I was disappointed because typically these Safari Zone events yield a lot of shiny Pokemon from a lot of different varieties of Pokemon. This event did not have a lot of shiny Pokemon, but I did get some exclusive species that I have been unable to get at any other moments while playing the game. So that was pretty
I hope
neat.
you got extras.
Oh yeah, don't worry.
Thank God.
So Chatot, which is a Pokemon that you can normally only get, I think in, I don't know, but you
Africa?
I think it might be
or
Brazil.
Australia.
The point is, you can't get it in Canada or the United States, and I caught a lot of him. So next time we meet up in person, I'll be more than happy to trade you some Chatots.
Yeah, maybe if the wedding is on and y'all do show up, then we'll be trading some Chatots, much to the chagrin of my fiance.
All right.
The last thing that I wanted to quickly touch on, exactly. Well, you see, they're these little monsters that fit in your pocket. No, it's time for the weekly Stadia check-in. Yeah, new Stadia Pro deals are happening right now. This isn't the deal segment, don't worry. But they've 3 games were released for Pro subscribers. It's the Serious Sam Collection, so that's Serious Sam HD 1 and 2, and Serious Sam 3. Then there's another game called Spitlings. I played a little bit of it. To describe it, it's a little similar in control to something like a Downwell, but it's not. You're going up and down. But you can you shoot up and down, and what you do is you're this little blobby thing, and you shoot your teeth. And apparently there's a 4-player mode, but it's Stadia, nobody else is playing it. It's the story mode is kind of like level based, and you have to try and destroy these other weird blobby things by spitting your teeth at it. It's weird. And then there's this Stadia exclusive game called Stacks on Stacks on Stacks, and it's a 3D.
On Stacks?
Yeah, exactly. It's a 3D tower building game where it's like when you're at the beach and you try and stack rocks or something and just see how tall you can get it without the tower falling over, or stacking anything really. It's that, but in video game form, and similar to like a Tetris, but in three dimensions. But you're trying to just build this tower up as high as it'll go, kind of like a Mount Your Friends almost, in that regard. But the key is you do not want you want to try to not let the tower topple over. It held my attention for about 10 minutes. Yeah, that's kind of all I've been playing for the most part.
Nice.
They're really treating all 12 of you on Stadia.
Yeah, very well. Yeah, I am so glad.
Oh, Alex, you'll also be glad to hear that I finished Doom Eternal.
Ooh, what did you
I had
think?
to knock it down to baby difficulty because the Marauders are pieces of shit and I hate them.
Okay, Super Shotgun Ballista, Super Shotgun
That's what I was
Ballista.
doing,
It's
but I
not
couldn't
hard.
do it to the... So there's one point in the game where you're in like this long extended hallway fighting a Marauder. And for whatever reason, just
okay.
that confined space, I couldn't keep away from him and it did not go well for me. So I knocked down the difficulty. I very much enjoyed the end of the game. I don't know if I'll get back to it.
I'm currently playing it on Nightmare, and holy shit, that game is an endurance. It is just so... It is... You let up for a second, you're dead. Nightmare is really hard, and I'm on Super Gore Nest right now, which is like the 4th mission, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat it anytime soon, but I'm going to keep trying.
Well, while you keep trying to beat Doom Eternal on Nightmare, let's get into the news.
Hot news.
Ready, set, go. News drop.
Finally, some news actually
I know,
happened.
and it's going to be fun. There isn't much to talk about, but we're going to talk a lot about these two things in particular. The first being that despite huge sales, Borderlands 3 developers are getting stiffed on their bonuses. This coming from Kotaku, written by Jason Schreier. And essentially this is just playing out as developers were for a long time sort of promised that bonuses were going to pay out in the tens to hundreds of $1,000s when Borderlands 3 launched, because the last few Gearbox launches have not gone very well for the company, those being Aliens, Colonial Marines, and Duke Nukem Forever. And
and also Battleborn. Don't forget.
oh right, Battleborn was a thing, and everyone else
Yeah, you can't
on
forget about that
listening to
game.
the show is like, oh yeah, that was a thing. Nonetheless, it doesn't look like the developers are going to get the kind of payout that they expected. Randy Pitchford has let the company know, and some employees have spoken with Jason Schreier at Kotaku anonymously for fear for their jobs, which is understandable, that this record-breaking, record-setting game release is not going to pay out the kinds of bonuses that employees were expecting. And it has been known around the industry that Gearbox does not pay as well as some other developers, but they have a better profit-sharing split when it comes to game releases. A 60-40 split where 60% goes to the developer and 40% is split amongst employees. And then in a meeting yesterday, so that being at the end of March, Gearbox boss Randy Pitchford told employees that Borderlands 3 bonus checks would be significantly lower than they had hoped. He said the game had been more expensive than expected, the company had grown significantly larger than it had been in the past, they actually now operate a second studio in Quebec, and that sales projections had been off base from what they had expected. And this is not the first time Randy Pitchford has said some controversial things about video games, so what do we think about Randy Pitchford and Gearbox not paying employees what they expected for Borderlands 3?
I mean,
I need to-
Randy Pitchford is a magician, and he made that money disappear, I guess.
You know, so a couple of weeks ago, I was working on a project for gamers that saw me going into interviews that Randy Pitchford has done in recent years on some of the projects that he made over the past decade, such as Aliens, Colonial Marines, and Duke Nukem Forever. And if you remember,
And Battleborn.
around the release of Duke Nukem Forever, he was very defensive about the game. He said that, you know, he regarded it as being his Half-Life 2, and he thought it was a revolutionary product. And I was shocked to discover in this one interview I stumbled upon from a couple of years ago that he was oddly understanding about the game situation. He stated that, you know, the game, there were a lot of expectations heaped on the game. It was in development for years and years, and the original developers of Forever 3D Realms promised the world, and, you know, admittedly, they didn't really deliver on that promise. And I was like, oh, wow, you know, Randy Pitchford is actually showing some, like, growth and is admitting that he, you know, is infallible. That's pretty nice of him. And this is a reminder that, like, no, don't let those things kind of fool you. This guy has a lot of problems, and unfortunately, I feel like we, much like other larger problems that plague our society, we kind of let them fade in the periphery a little too often.
I'm really hoping too, just from an employee morale standpoint, that a lot of employees don't take this from the company, and basically I can imagine us seeing a lot of people start to leave Gearbox over these sort of decisions.
Yeah, unfortunately, they can't do anything about Randy Pitchford because Gearbox is a privately owned studio, and since he is the CEO, they can't. There's no union or anything that can deal with him. So they're kind of, if they're going to stay at Gearbox, they're
not
stuck with
owned
them.
by 2K.
Nope, they're just
okay.
partners.
They're just their publishing
Gearbox,
partner.
yeah.
No, but I thought Gearbox was publishing
for
games now themselves.
Just for they publish some games, like they published Duke Nukem, and they published the Bulletstorm remake, or not remaster. But then they do partner with other publishers like 2K for Borderlands specifically.
Yeah, I don't know. You hate to see stuff like this because it's not limited to video games, right? Like this sort of thing of people. There were stories of people being able to put down payments down on houses and things of that nature, buying new cars and things like that when Borderlands 2 launched. And to see a studio that is, for the most part, treated its employees fairly well in the past take this kind of path moving forward is disappointing to see, at least for me personally.
That kind of shelves my plans on buying Borderlands right now.
I already purchased Borderlands 3, and I'm not going to probably go back to it.
I bought it, thought about getting the DLC, and hearing things like this just makes me not want to give them any more money. I don't think I will buy another Gearbox product or pay any more money into a Gearbox piece of software until things fundamentally change at the company.
I think Randy Pitchford really lost me when I heard he actually called people muggles if they didn't practice magic.
What?
Yeah.
I can't tell if you're
No,
serious
I am this is not an April Fool's thing. There is a this was a long time ago. He actually did that. He called actual humans muggles because they didn't practice magic.
So he sounds like a bit of a crazy person. But you know what isn't crazy? Nintendo is reportedly planning Mario remasters for the Switch to celebrate Mario's 35th anniversary.
Finally, some good news.
This coming to us from IGN's Adam Bankhurst.
Crazy good.
So the rumors as they swirl via VGC are that we're going to see ports of, or remasters of Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy as sort of an anniversary collection, as well as a port of Super Mario 3D World getting the deluxe treatment, similarly to what we saw with New Super Mario Bros. U, as well as a new Paper Mario game that's in development, which harkens back to the roots of the series from the N64 and GameCube. So we're getting a proper Paper Mario RPG, allegedly. Thoughts?
This is really exciting for somebody who has never played any of these games.
How?
I played Mario Galaxy very, very briefly because it was on the Nintendo Wii, and I did own one of those because everyone did. But yeah, I've never played any of these games because I didn't have a N64 or a GameCube growing up. And I did have a DS, but I only had Pokemon.
The only game I had when I got my DS was Super Mario 64 DS, and I freaking loved that game.
Game is great.
Wasn't that the launch title for it?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was
Okay.
really the only game to own at launch.
For the very ugly version of the DS.
I had that DS. I loved
I
it.
kind of love the look of the original DS.
I am glad I upgraded to the DS Lite eventually, but I really have some fond memories of that big old bulky DS.
I mean, it was cool that they kind of carried over the aesthetic of the kind of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance before it. I feel like if it hadn't carried over that aesthetic, it would have been more dead in the water.
So this is good news getting 3D Marios, except it means we might have to play Super Mario Sunshine again.
I'm sorry, 3D what?
I never played Sunshine.
It's not worth playing.
Well, so like I'm actually a huge proponent of Super Mario Sunshine. I think that it's a supremely underrated game. I also admit that it is not a game without its flaws. I think that there are corners of it that are really kind of severely unpolished, and I'm looking forward to this remaster kind of polishing those edges. The thing, if I can go on just a very, very short rant here, the thing that frustrates me a lot about Super Mario Sunshine is I feel like whenever people bring up, oh man, what's your favorite part of Super Mario Sunshine? They always bring up the levels where the flood, which is the water jetpack that Mario roams around the world with, when it gets removed, and basically it's just Mario relying on his pure platforming skills. And I'm gonna probably be in the minority saying this, but those levels are honestly some of the worst and most unpolished levels in the game. They are challenging because they force you to rely on they force you to make like really precise jumps and or rely on elements of luck and randomness. Like there's this one level where there are these piantas who chuck you, and if you're like a pixel off from the exact direction that they need you to chuck you, they'll chuck you into a bottomless pit.
So that reminds me kind of Super Mario Odyssey, where you had levels where you didn't have Cappy, and I felt the same sort of limitations there of the game is taking away mechanics in which it was fundamentally designed to take advantage of, which makes it less fun. So I feel like I'm going to be in the same boat as you, Cozy. I know I haven't played it, but that sort of resonates with me.
Speaking of taking away previous mechanics, do you guys remember when, like in Mario 64, when he could punch and kick things?
Yeah.
Because he used. There was a point where he was like a little bit more combat focused, and then I can't quite remember about Sunshine whether or not you could punch or kick things, but I know in Galaxy it got replaced with the Wii Remote waggle to
The spin.
spin.
Right.
Which wasn't the same. It made sense, but it also wasn't the same thing.
Do you guys feel like that motion control, like how are they going to translate the, like motion controls were so important to the way Galaxy was designed. How do you think, like I don't want to have to use Joy-Con motion controls for this game. Do you think that's going to be our only choice?
Isn't there a version of this available for the NVIDIA Shield or something like that in like Asian markets somewhere?
What?
Yeah.
What are you
Hold on.
talking about?
No, I remember hearing about
Talk
this. I
amongst
will find
yourselves,
it.
I'm
You
gonna
keep
Google it.
talking.
Yeah.
I'll Google it. You keep talking.
I have nothing else to say.
I mean,
No,
this is probably going to be unpopular. I'm actually perfectly fine if they go back to using waggle for this thing, but I mean, I'm sure they'll just replace it with one of the shoulder buttons if people don't want to do that.
But what if it being on the Switch, I don't necessarily want to waggle my Switch in order to do that. If I'm playing it portably. On the big screen, yeah, no problem.
Maybe they'll have you do like a circular motion with one of the analog sticks.
Did you play Odyssey in handheld, or did you play that mostly docked?
I played mine
AJ?
with a Pro Controller docked.
Yeah,
AJ?
I played mine entirely handheld.
I played a lot of mine handheld, but I think I played mostly docked.
So I think, I don't know about you, Cozy, but I played the majority of the game docked with split Joy-Cons, and I felt like the motion controls were really important to that game and the way that I played that game. So it's interesting to hear that I'm probably the only one that played the game, the majority of that game in that configuration.
We're going to be talking more in depth about remasters coming up in a little bit. The last thing I'll say on Super Mario Sunshine is, I remember back during the days of the Wii, people pointed out like, hey, this kind of game feels like it would be right for a Wii remaster, because there are a ton of instances in the game where you have to specifically aim the flood at surfaces to spray out your water, and they're like, wouldn't it make sense to be able to use your Wii remote to aim, basically? And of course, we never got a remaster of Sunshine for the Wii, and I wonder, with this upcoming remaster, are they going to allow you the option of doing that with the Joy-Cons, or are they just going to skip over any kind of motion control there?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. I don't know what they're going to do, honestly, because it sounds like from these rumors that it is going to be a total remaster, so I'm sure they'll figure out a way around it, and we're just going to have to wait and see what Nintendo does with it. The other interesting thing about this is that these announcements were rumored to be made alongside updates for the Super Nintendo Land theme park in Tokyo at Universal Tokyo, alongside updates to the Mario Brothers film being developed by Illumination Studios, and it was supposed to come at E3. And we know at least one of those things is canceled. One of them, the theme park is closed, and there is no construction going on. Many films are getting delayed. Do we still feel like we're going to get this announcement this year and get these games this year based on all of the delays that are going on around the COVID-19 pandemic that Nintendo was trying to tie into with these remasters?
I don't know,
Yes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we don't know anything that Nintendo is doing for the rest of the year. Like, the only game we knew about that they were going to be doing for 2020 was Animal Crossing, and that's out now, so who knows what Nintendo's doing now.
Like,
I mean,
they
we did get a
obviously
mini
had-
direct. I was going to say, we did get a mini direct that they talked a bit more about what they're going to have in 2020, but not a lot.
But
Like
that's not like fall stuff.
The one more thing was an update to the Pokemon expansion pass that we didn't really need, that didn't really tell us anything. So, could be a bit of a struggle. Go ahead, Nathan.
Sorry. I think we will see them. Nintendo's obviously working on things under the hood because they have nothing else announced. And if they don't come out with a few more games for this year, because don't get me wrong, I love Animal Crossing. I've probably played a little too much, but I definitely want something else to play later on the Switch this year, and they got nothing in the pipeline. My son keeps asking about Zelda, the Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel, even though it's not a great game. But
You're wrong. Stop saying it's not a great game.
but
He's only a little wrong. It's fine.
but anyways, I don't think that's this year. So what is this stuff for this year? Because they haven't talked about anything, and we're 3 months into the year now.
I think a lot of things are in a wait and see pattern. We've seen this happening with the film industry, where a lot of concrete dates that we knew that were happening now or within the next couple of months are getting pushed back to late 2020 to between late 2020 and late 2021 with a lot of films. So I think we're more aware of release dates when it comes to that industry, and we're not as much when it comes to video games. But I think as we move through this year, the impacts of this pandemic are definitely going to have a relatively severe impact on what publishers and developers are able to deliver to consumers this year, because a lot of companies are having to change the way that they run their businesses very, very rapidly. And it'll be interesting to see as this financial quarter is now ended, once we start getting some financial reports and some investor updates, what is going to happen when it comes to some of these companies and what they're going to do, Nintendo included.
I've got just one point, though, to kind of counteract that. Because when you're talking about movies, one of the big problems with movies is that it's a room of 200 people or so, and that is obviously a danger right now because of the current situation, where video games are, though they can't be in the same place, or though they can be developed in a different place than, like, not everyone who's developing the game has to be in the same place. People who are playing it, they can be wherever and they can be isolated. So I don't know if there's going to be as much worry about things getting delayed in the same fashion as the film industry, just because of the difference in how people consume that media.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was a weird way of saying that.
I do agree with you, but I think if these businesses were set up to have their teams work remotely, then the impact should be minimal. But you have to think of how many moving parts there are when it comes to releasing a video game, when it comes to advertising, marketing, physical manufacturing of goods, shipping. A lot of these things are very, very limited or restricted right now with the world we live in. So it's going to be interesting to see how this year plays out when it comes to these consumer goods that we're so anticipating.
All digital, baby. Let's do it.
But what we don't have to wait for are some deals. So we've got a few deals this week in It's Raining Deals. Alex, I know you got one in there. What you got?
Well, because it is April 1st as of the time of recording, and by the time that you are listening, it will be still April. The
Hopefully.
new PS Plus, I mean, who knows? April is gonna be a wild card, man. But so the PS Plus games have been announced, and they are now available to download. And the games are Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and Dirt Rally 2.0.
That's the title.
Is it 2.0? Okay, I wasn't sure if it was just 2 or 2.0.
It's 2.0.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, I can say at least for Uncharted 4, Thief's End, very, very, very amazing game. And the fact that you can get it essentially for free with PS Plus is just play it. It's so good. It's such a good story.
And the fact that the Nathan Drake collection was available for PS Plus not that long ago, I feel like, if you're itching to play this and you haven't gotten around to it, it's probably a good time.
Yeah.
Hopefully Lost Legacy will be next.
It's one of my favorite games on the PS4. If you haven't played it at this point, please do. And let me know what you think.
Such a charming experience.
So another deal that I found actually just earlier today, which is going to be on sale through April. Yeah, we're in April. I can't count. Through April the 21st, is that the Mutant Mudds collection for the Switch is under $2. and that is an absolute steal for what is a gem of a collection of real. So these games were originally for the 3DS, so they played a lot with depth of field.
Yeah.
And they were really good there, and I have it for the Switch, and I can confirm it's really good there, and for the price, you cannot beat the value you're getting there. They're really hard, too, which is nice.
I remember the first Mutant Mudds, because I played it on the 3DS back in the day. I remember it being a, not like especially inventive platformer, but a very well-polished one. So, yeah, for $2, it's a pretty good value.
And with that...
And how many games are in the collection? Just, sorry,
Yeah,
one
no,
last
go
question.
ahead.
How many games are in the collection?
3. I think it's the first, like, the 2 Mutant Mud games, like platformers that came out on the 3DS, as well as a Mutant Mudds Match 3 puzzle style game, which is kind of interesting. Cool. I think it's just those 3. Yeah, it's like the Mutant Mudds game, the Mutant Mudds Lost Levels, which was like a super challenging expansion / sequel, and then this puzzle game that the name of it is escaping me right now. But it's definitely worth checking out. If you haven't played those games for under $2, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I've literally never heard of them, so I will be checking it out after this.
And with that, we can... No, go ahead. I just keep trying to wrap this up, but that's okay.
Yep. My apologies. Very, very quickly, I did review Dirt Rally 2.0. I was just looking for my review to remember the score because it was last year, but I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's excellent.
Ooh.
So Codemasters makes a lot of racing games.
Oh, it's a Codemasters game.
It's a Codemaster game, and they do a lot of different racing games. I wanted, before I said something, to pull my review up so I could remember what the score was that I gave it. But it's rewarding. It's difficult. Even when you lose, you feel like you're learning something. I believe this is the one that they call the Dark Souls of racing games.
Now, where could people check out that review if they wanted to give it a read?
PS4blog.net.
Sweet. Everyone should go check that out. And with that, give everyone a second to interrupt me again.
Sorry.
Beep, beep. And with that,
Affleck.
God damn it! And with that, we can wrap up.
Tried so hard.
I work with children.
At least one.
Let's get to
I'm
5
illegal.
by 5.
5 by 5 time. So, with the news around the rumored Mario remasters, we thought we'd play a game of 5 by 5 of the most wanted remakes / remasters.
Well, that's also along with Modern Warfare 2 Remaster and Resident Evil 3. Sorry, just gotta say
That is also true. I forgot those were out, even though you talked about one 20 minutes ago.
Glad you're listening to me.
I try. Yeah, so we're going to play a game of 5 by 5 of the most anticipated or most wanted, most sought after remasters and remakes. The way that this game works is we're going to have 3 rounds. In the first round, each of our hosts is going to give me 3 games? Or is it 2?
2.
2?
I thought you said 2.
2, yeah. So we're going to have each host give me 2 games that they'd like to see remastered. I will place them in order in the list. Round 2, they will get to argue why one of their picks is better than another on the list. If I feel like their argument is valid, I'll put that game above the one that they were arguing against.
You're really belchy all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's the alcohol. I apologize. And the third and final round, I will come up with some weird random way that I haven't figured out yet of giving them ideas of what to present to me, and I hope it's funny, and then those will go on the list too. And points will be given out based on if it's in slot number 1, it's 3 points. Slots 2 through 5 are worth 2 points. And slots 6 through 10 are worth 1 point each. And with that, the magical mystery machine of who gets to go first says, Nathan, you're up.
Ooh, I'm up. So just to confirm, these are games that we want to see remasters of, correct?
That is correct. The most wanted,
Yes.
most anticipated, most sought after remakes that you can possibly think of.
Okay, I'm going to go with the moon and just say Chrono Trigger.
Damn.
Chrono Trigger is one of those games that is one of the seminal RPGs. When you talk top RPGs, which I don't know, maybe we could talk about soon, it's going to be in that top list. So it's one of those things, it's part of my childhood. The art's beautiful, the mechanics are beautiful, everything's good about it.
But what would you want to see out of a remake? Do you want like a Final Fantasy VII style remake, or do you want a pixel for pixel Octopath Traveler style remake?
No, because if it's pixel for pixel, it'll be identical to what's there, and I don't want identical to what's there because what's there is perfect. I wouldn't mind seeing some cleaned up art, like if we went like with a more fleshed out animation style that looked more like proper anime, I think would look really cool. So take the Dragon Ball designs from Akira Toriyama. I don't think I said that right, but actually just have them all Tozawa. Is that right?
Toriyama, yeah.
Toriyama, and have them all drawn.
Toriyama.
I also forgot we're supposed to be timing these, but I forgot on the first one, so.
That one's free.
Yeah, that one you get for free, but I'm going to call it there. Nathan, that was a good
That's
argument.
fine. I'm done.
Yeah, and for that reason and the fact that there's nothing else on the list, it's going first. AJ, I need your first pick.
Okay, my first pick is going to be... They don't hold... Story-wise, they hold up well. Gameplay-wise, they do not. I would like to see the entirety of the Metal Gear Solid franchise remastered in the Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain engine.
So you want 1 through 4 remastered?
1 through 4 remastered in MGS5.
In the Fox engine.
In the Fox engines, remastered, brought up to modern day control schemes, modern day gameplay, and I've tried to go back to the old ones and I just cannot play them. I had to watch a let's play of them to get the story. I was entertained by the let's play, not necessarily about them struggling with the controls. That's my argument.
That's your argument.
Yes.
So there wasn't much of an argument there, unfortunately.
Oh, there's plenty.
I don't know. You just said do it. You didn't say how
Do it.
or who or...
I did say how. I said do it
why.
in... I did say do it in the newest engine.
But the newest...
It's the best engine.
The problem here is you want this done in an engine that's only been used for 2 games as far as I'm aware, and that is Metal Gear Solid 5 and Metal Gear Survive. And one of those games is good.
Death Stranding.
No, Death Stranding was Decima.
No, you're right.
So we're talking about using a tool that we haven't seen used since MGS5 or since Metal Gear Survive, which no one should have played. I think that was Fox Engine. It would make sense, right?
It was, because it was an asset flip.
Yep, exactly. We're talking about... we didn't mention if it was going to be Konami, if it was going to be Kojima Studios, like who's going to handle this. Is it going to be Blue Point or one of these other reputable remaster studios? And they're just... I like the idea of remastering them, but there just wasn't enough oomph to that argument. And for that reason, it's going to have to go below Chrono Trigger at number 2.
Sure. You're only saying this because I won last time.
Did you? It's been so long. All right, Alex, I need your first pick.
Okay, well, I'm going with the game that broke my heart. The game that I wanted so badly to be so good, because it was a follow-up to my favorite trilogy of games besides Halo. And I'm talking about Mass Effect Andromeda. It is... Mass Effect Andromeda needs a remake. Mass Effect Andromeda should be remade because it was a bad game. It was bad.
I'm with Alex on this one.
It had so much potential to be cool. It had so much potential to be great. It was a follow-up to Mass Effect 3, but also completely disconnected from Mass Effect 3 by being in the Andromeda Galaxy. That gives you so much wiggle room to play around with these with new characters, with new stories, with the in that universe that it could be disconnected from the Reaper story. And what did they do? They put it on Frostbite. They put it on Frostbite. Frostbite is a first-person shooter engine. That's about it, because every other game that's been released on Frostbite sucks, except for maybe Dragon Age Inquisition, but that was a miracle that even turned out good. And I just wanted something more from Mass Effect Andromeda. I wanted it to be a good game, and it wasn't. And that's why the potential of the setup of it, of going to the Andromeda Galaxy, was so strong that I think it deserves to be remade. And also by BioWare proper, not by another studio that has the BioWare name, not by the Montreal studio. Do it by Edmonton, and let BioWare go back to what they were good at, and that's making RPGs.
I really like the idea of you bringing something a little more modern to this list, to be honest. The only problem I have with it is that this is the list of most wanted remakes and remasters, and
my
what you're
most
talking
wanted.
about is a reboot. You want that
Well, I
game
said remake. I wanted it to be remade. I wanted them to take the initial concept of Andromeda and remake it from the ground up.
So you want them to remake a bad game, and for you wanting them to remake a bad game, that's going to have to go below MGS 1 through 4 at number 3.
Oh, this is bullshit.
Cozy, you're last up for this first go around at round 1. What you got?
All right. So I was looking over at the quick list I made of games that people would most want remade and remaster, and I figured that for my first choice, I'd go with something a little bit out of left field. Star Wars Republic Commando. So Star Wars Republic Commando was a tactical first-person shooter that was released in 2005. It's set between episodes 2 and 3, and it follows a group of clone Republic commandos as they battle the troops of the Separatists across various battlefields across the galaxy. On top of being a really solid shooter, it's also unexpectedly one of the more entertaining Star Wars games to come out of its era in terms of the characters. Despite being clones, each of the clones that you play as all have really distinctive and entertaining personalities and really elevate the experience. And I had the opportunity to play this game about a year and a half ago, and at the time I noted, like, wow, this game, like, it holds up. It's like perfectly fine as it is, but much like the Metal Gear Solid games, there are aspects of it that haven't aged, super well. Things that, nowadays we look back on and are like, it's a product of its time, and I think that it would significantly benefit from a refresh. Last thing I want to point out is that, like, we're living in a time where it feels like the only Star Wars video games that can exist are Star Wars video games that are the biggest AAA experiences ever, like Jedi Fallen Order or Battlefront 2, or, small, tiny little mobile games. And the thing about Star Wars Republic Commando is, even at the time of its release, it was kind of a really good mid-tier Star Wars game. It wasn't a AAA game, it was AA. And I feel like what this sort of remake will do is it will show that, like, hey, not every Star Wars game needs to be the biggest, most bombastic release of all time. You can have mid-tier Star Wars games that are just as excellent as the AAA tier.
I like it. That's a really good, interesting pick to bring to this list, to be honest, because we haven't seen a lot of licensed remakes or remasters. And I think it's something that we could use a lot more of, because there are a lot of properties that are just lost in the annals of video games past. And for that reason, I'm actually going to put Republic Commando at number 1 on this list, above Chrono Trigger, above MGS 1 through 4, and above Mass Effect Andromeda.
This is a tragedy.
Okay, Nathan, I just bumped you down from number 1, so I need to know what the next game is you're bringing to the list.
Okay, so I went with a game that everybody has heard of for the first one. So now I'm going to go with a video game that nobody's heard of, but I think deserves to be played by people. It's a game for the N64 called Hybrid Heaven. Anybody aware of Hybrid Heaven?
That rings a bell.
Nope.
Not in the slightest.
So it's been years since I've played it, so I'm going to be a little bit rusty, probably close to 20 years. I think I played it not too long after the N64 came out, but it was a Konami-made game. And basically, it was an RPG turn-based system, like gaming system, where you're invading an underground army bunker where they're cloning hybrids out of people. But the turn-based action all takes place is all combat moves. So, and you can combo them. So you'd get like, oh, you now have kick or suplex. And it had a really cool story. It was the most intriguing turn-based system that I played in a long time. It was something that was just really, really different. Unfortunately, it just never got played, and it disappeared off Konami's radar, and nobody played it. But it's one of those games where I'd love to just see them be like, we're remaking it, and here it is, and here's why. Because I think it was really good. I think more people deserve to play Hybrid Heaven. I keep wanting to say Hybrid Theory, but that's a Linkin Park album.
Yes, it is. A very good album, mind you.
Hybrid. Yep, I agree with that 100%. Hybrid Heaven, because it's just so good.
The fact that you said the name of the game like 4 times, and I still put into the list Hybrid something ? Means I'm putting this at number 5 below everything else, because none of us have heard of it, and it is not something that a lot of people are clamoring to have remade.
That's fair. I should have knew that was coming after Alex's shutdown.
AJ, what?
I mean, I will say, like, I had literally never heard of Hybrid Heaven before, and I say that in the best possible way. Like, I'm at this game's Wikipedia page right now. It seems like an interesting game.
Played on
I'm sure it is, but I still have to put it at the bottom of the list because it's my list. So, who did I have go first, Alex or AJ?
AJ.
You had
Okay,
me go
well, since
first.
Alex answered first, he can go next.
All right then. Wild card.
That's all I do.
Too, I'm an Alex, but okay, whatever.
You'll get your turn, goddammit.
All right. I guess I'm gonna go with another BioWare game. This one, I genuinely do believe deserves a remake in the same vein of Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3, where it's a from the ground up remake where you take the story, because the story was so good, and you recontextualize the game.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Mm-hmm. You saying everything you're saying is bringing one game to the front of my mind. Mm-hmm. If that is not the game, if you present that game, it's going at number 1 without you having to give an argument.
Well, it's Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay, well, it's going at number 1 because you presented it and it was the game I was thinking of, and you didn't have to give an argument. If it had been any other game, I was going to say it's going at the bottom, but you presented the right BioWare game, and it's going at number 1.
I will say it's a funny coincidence that number 1 and number 2 are Star Wars games that came out in the mid 2000s.
This is my list, and I'll build it however I want.
Republic Commando was definitely on my list as well. So great minds think alike.
AJ, what's your next pick?
My next pick is going to be an old PS2 game that I think doesn't quite hold up the same way it used to, and I think it dramatically needs to a straight up remake, not a full-on remaster, but remake it from the ground up, give it modern day controls, give it modern day graphics, modern day everything, but keep the story the same. Grand Theft Auto Vice City. It's time we return to fake Miami and did something there. They don't have to put a new game there set in today's world. I still want the 80s Grand Theft Auto Vice City in 80s Miami, full Scarface knockoff and everything. That is my argument.
That was beautiful.
I'm going to rally for this to take number 1. This is a good pick.
It's a great pick because it's actually the first GTA game I ever played. It was given to me as a gift on one of my birthdays when I was far too young to have been playing this game. But I've tried so many times to go back and play KOTOR, and I can't, and I would die to have it remade in a modern engine. So for that reason, I need to leave it at number 1, at least for now. So GTA Vice City is going to go at number 2, just below it.
Okay.
All right, Cozy, I need your next pick.
So the Metal Gear Solid games were previously discussed. And I figured that I would bring up a Metal Gear game that was not previously discussed, which is Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance was well received at the time of its release, but I feel like a combination of the fact that it wasn't a absolute Hideo Kojima helmed title, the fact that it dealt a lot with Raiden, kind of made people not love it as much. And I feel like over time, since its release, people have come to appreciate Revengeance more. And another thing to note about Revengeance is that the villain of that game is very near and close to current modern day, let's say, politicians, without naming them by name. There may or may not be a character in the game that literally out loud says, "Make America Great Again." And I feel like this is a great example of a game that I feel would benefit from a remaster, so that people can really get a second look around and really just appreciate kind of what this game was going for. To me, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is a great synthesis of like Hideo Kojima weirdness and really intricate systems with a level of kind of approachability and I think simplicity that Platinum Games was able to imbue the spinoff with.
That was a Platinum game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Kojima and Kojima Productions had a sizable hand in its production, but it was largely helmed by Platinum.
So in this supposed fictitious remaster, Would we have Platinum doing the remaster? Or are you giving this to another studio to get it done?
In this case, I think that Platinum would be best suited to remaster.
And in that case, it's going to go just above Chrono Trigger at number 4. Because I love me some good Platinum action. So, a little inside baseball here. Revengeance. I don't remember how it was spelled. We've previously built this list so there were 12 on it before we got to round 2. But I actually like the idea of cutting it short here and filling out the rest of our top 10 as we get into round 3. So I'm going to say round 1 is over. We've got a top 8.
All right.
So at number 8, we have Hybrid Something from Nathan. Number 7 is Mass Effect Andromeda from Alex. And number 6, we have MGS 1 through 4, which was kind of cheating because it's more than one game, from AJ. And number 5, we have Chrono Trigger from Nathan. Number 4 is another Metal Gear game, Revengeance from Cozy. 3 is Star Wars Republic Commando. 2 is GTA Vice City. And number 1, thus far on this list, is Knights of the Old Republic. And with that being said, at the end of round 1, we actually have a tie at first place with 4 points each, Alex and Cozy. And tied for third are AJ and Nathan, each with 3 points. It's anybody's game at this point. And in round 2, you're going to get to argue why one of your picks should be higher than another one on the list. Since AJ and Nathan are tied for third, I need a game of rock, paper, scissors on the stream to figure out who's going first.
Are we going like rock paper, scissors, shoot?
Yep.
Okay. Rock, paper,
scissors, shoot.
I can't see what Nathan, is that paper? That is in fact paper.
Yeah, it's paper.
AJ has presented scissors. In that case, Nathan has lost, and Nathan will have to present his case first.
Okay. So obviously I'm not going to bring up the case for Hybrid Heaven, even though I think this is a mistake. You should go check it out. So I'm going to talk about Chrono Trigger because it's way too low on this list. I don't know how Chrono Trigger's sitting at number 5. It's one of the greatest games ever made. I would love to see that updated visuals of it. It definitely deserves to be above Star Wars. Sorry. Yeah, it should be above Star Wars Republic Commando in the number 3 spot. I want to see GTA Vice City, and that should probably be number 1, but Chrono Trigger should be right underneath of it.
Why?
Because it's the best game ever made. And I want to play it in a Final Fantasy VII style system. Just give it to me.
Okay. So that your argument is that it's the best game of all time. Okay. Cozy, since he's arguing against your pick of Star Wars Republic Commando, I need you to tell me why Chrono Trigger is not the best game of all time.
Can't I use a different argument for why it shouldn't be above?
No, you have to use you have to rebut the argument he gave.
Right.
The argument was Chrono Trigger is the best game of all time. I need you to rebut why Chrono Trigger is not the best game of all time. He didn't compare the two games, so unfortunately you don't get to compare them either.
I mean, I think that, undeniably Chrono Trigger was a great synthesis of what Square Enix was doing at the time on the Super Nintendo, but I think that greater Japanese role-playing games have been made by other companies since then, such as Atlas, for example, with the Persona series. And see, I would have more to say if the argument was phrased a little bit differently, but...
Say what you want to say, it's fine. I don't want to limit you too much.
Just like...
It's just Nathan handcuffed me. He made the argument. I'm sorry.
Well, my question is, what exactly would a remake of Chrono Trigger really kind of benefit from? I feel like Chrono Trigger, as it originally existed on the Super Nintendo, is perfectly fine as it is. I feel like its graphics and its sound and, a lot of its writing have not particularly, I feel, degraded in the way that, say, a game like Star Wars Republic Commando has degraded. And in that regard, I feel like Star Wars Republic Commando should go higher on this list because I feel like, while it is also still a very solid game, it is more in need of being remastered.
See, I think more people need to be playing Chrono Trigger because it's a much older game, and there's a generation that probably hasn't even played it.
Alex, have you played it?
Nope.
I do want to... Oh, God, that was loud in my ear. I do want to say one thing, in that Chrono Trigger, in fact, was re-released relatively recently
DS,
on the Nintendo DS, which is where I first played it. I know I'm old.
That's not recent.
Or older than Alex at least, but I was aware of this game and did get to play it on the DS. And I do appreciate words are hard. I do appreciate Cozy's argument that this game, Republic Commando, is more in need of a remaster than Chrono Trigger, and for that reason, list stays the same. AJ, what's your argument? Where's it going?
Revengeance is a very good topical game.
That's your whole argument?
And it fit it
That was a nice pause.
It fits in really well today, but it is still so recent, so incredibly new, so modern, so recently released. I don't think it deserves quite the remake that Metal Gear Solid 1 all the way through 4 deserve in a full MGS5 engine remake and remaster, retelling of those original 4 stories and put into modern times. Revengeance is close enough
Cozy,
already.
everyone's picking on your picks. What's up with tonight?
I don't know, man.
All
I
right,
don't
well,
know.
I need you to argue why Revengeance is too new to be remastered versus the Metal Gear Solid 1 through 4 games.
I mean, here's the thing. Metal Gear Solid 1 through 4, all those games I feel like are already readily part of the public discourse when it comes to discussing some of the best gaming experiences, some of the best Metal Gear Solid games of all time. I feel like Revengeance has always just been kind of edged out of that discourse, and that's why I feel like it's really deserving and in need of this remake. Obviously, you know, a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1 through 4, you know, would be great, but I feel like it wouldn't really kind of change their standing, how it is that people kind of perceive them. If anything, you know, and we saw this with the remake of Metal Gear Solid 1 that was done back during the GameCube era, it might actually slightly degrade how people think about them. And, you know, the last thing I want to bring up is, you know, once again, like, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance touches on some political themes and subject matter that nowadays, you know, is really relevant. And while obviously there is a lot of political themes and subject matter in Metal Gear Solid 1 through 4 that, you know, is relevant today too, I don't feel like it is quite on the same level.
I like the points you made, Cozy.
I already see that you changed them around. You can't. You're coming into this really slowly. Like I'm gonna pull the rug.
That's the way I play this game. I'm sorry. There was one argument I was specifically looking for, in that MGS4 is still relatively modern compared to Revengeance, and since you didn't make that point, which was the point that I asked you to make based on the age of the game, then MGS 1 through 4 is now at number 4, above Metal Gear Solid Revengeance. I can't speak tonight. Why are you guys letting me host this show?
That was...
I mean, it doesn't matter because I'm still tied for first place, but it's like, what a like specific thing. Like, well, no, you didn't say it in exactly this exact specific way, so I have to dock you points.
Look at the number 1 slot. I gave it to Alex because he was simpatico with me. You were not, so you got docked points for that. It's just the way it works. All right, Cozy, because I'm being such a jerk, I'm going to give you a chance right now to argue why one of your games should be higher than one of the others on the list.
See, the problem is I feel like I've been arguing for these two games constantly for the past hour or whatever.
It's only been like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know, 20 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that Metal Gear Rising Revengeance should be above Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And my argument is that I feel like at this point, if Rockstar Games were to go back to the drawing board and be like, you know what, we should make another Grand Theft Auto game that's set in the 1980s, set in, you know, cocaine-fueled Miami, they would probably just make an entirely new game. There's no reason for them to take the kind of old shell of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and I don't say old in the sense to say that it's bad or anything like that, but just to say that, you know, like a lot of other games from its era, it's aged, and be like, let's remake this. I think they would just start fresh with an entire new husk, and I feel like the same would not be applied with regards to Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Okay, AJ, I need you to argue why the story in GTA Vice City as it exists today is important to a remake of the game, in the same vein that the story of Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is important to that game without change.
So the reason why Revengeance is important to that game without change is because it's just so happens to be topical today in this nightmare future world we wound up in this awful timeline.
Can you believe the March was?
Are you talking about Metal Gear Rising Revengeance?
Can you believe the March was only 1 month?
Oh my
it
God,
felt like
how
a
long?
millennia.
Like, how many years ago was that? Wow.
Oh man.
Continue.
where
Continue.
the, you've thrown me off. Now I'm in my dark place again. Thanks.
Not the dark place.
Oh no. Can you re-ask your question again?
Why
What
is
am
the
I arguing?
story as it exists in GTA Vice City important to a remaster as opposed to just using the city with a new story? So the story of Tommy Vercetti. Vercetti?
Yes. So the
Vercetti, yeah.
Vercetti.
Vercetti.
Vercetti, yeah.
Been a while.
There's an R in there, I think. The story of Tommy Vercetti is actually very of its time, and it's a story that, like Scarface and stuff like that, it can be so highly revered as a timepiece, a piece of history that even though in GTA's caricature of the 80s, Tommy Vercetti's rags to riches story is one that we can all relate to in the same way that we can relate to this nightmare world that we're in right now. But it's time to go back to a happier place, and the 80s were a much better time, and especially the way they were caricaturized and presented in the story of GTA Vice City.
Sorry, my mic didn't unmute there. I don't know why. This is a hard one because Cozy makes such a good point.
He always does. He's
He
so
does.
good at this. He's so good at this.
He's so articulate. I really
That's why
do
he deserves to
appreciate that
lose.
about him. But I think GTA Vice City needs to be remade the way it is, and I can't really put my finger on why. I just really want it myself, and it's my list, and I can be selfish, so I'm going to leave it as it is.
I do want to point out, and I'm not going to argue against your ultimate decision,
Okay.
but in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, that game does end with you
Spoilers!
possibly
Spoilers!
destroying, spoiler alert, destroying the individual who uttered the phrase "Make America Great Again." While it is a very political game that touches on a lot of modern political themes and subject matter, it is also very much an escapist fantasy as well that allows you to fight back in ways that you can't in real life as well.
Yeah, but I feel like
And I
I feel
just
like
wanna point that
if
out
that
as
came
well
out in today's day and age, it would
Oh my-
cause quite the ruckus. We might not get video games anymore if that were the case, and I like video games. So if they're going to keep coming, then I need to see GTA Vice City before I see a Revengeance remake. All right, Alex, you've got number one, so you're only arguing for one game here. So what
And that-
game do you think Mass Effect Andromeda is more deserving of a remake than on this list?
Well, you've already said that you're going to be selfish with Vice City, so I'm not even going to try that. So I'm going to go with the number 3 slot and say Star Wars Republic Commando. That Mass Effect Andromeda should go above that. I'm so sorry, Cozy. It just so happened. I was going to think about doing a Hail Mary for Vice City, but I'm not crazy. So Star Wars Republic Commando was a good game when it came out. It's still a pretty good game on, because I have it on PC. I've played it on Steam recently. It's a great game. It's still such a fun shooter.
It's a great game. Do you want to just spend the rest of your subject talking about how
But
great
Mass
it is?
Effect
I need an argument here,
Andromeda,
Alex.
Mass Effect Andromeda didn't get a chance to be good because EA sent it to die like they do a lot of things. I think even if you just remade the game, but if you remade the game from the ground up, taking the story of Mass Effect Andromeda, which had potential to be good, maybe recontextualize it a little bit, like other remakes have done, and just let it breathe, let it get it to be its own thing, it could be fantastic. It could rival the Mass Effect trilogy, which are titans of games. It could be on that level. It has the potential. It has those characters. Those characters have that potential to be great. And I think that Republic Commando is already a great game now, and so it got its chance to be good. I think let something like Andromeda have that chance.
Cozy, why are they all picking on you tonight? Literally everyone argued
don't
against
know,
your
man.
games.
Man, I don't know. Listen, here's my counter argument. I'm not dealing here with possibilities. I'm dealing with absolutes. A remake of Mass Effect Andromeda could be great. It could rival the Mass Effect, the original Mass Effect trilogy. Okay, fine. A remake / remaster of Star Wars Republic Commando would be great because the original shell of what it was and always, and well, still is really great.
You dropped a Star Wars quote on me there, and I like it.
Did
Yeah,
I?
you were talking about dealing in absolutes. Only Sith deal in absolutes.
Oh, that's right.
You didn't even
Wow.
realize you were... Oh, God damn it. So I thought you were making that pun intentionally and that I would appreciate it. The fact that you didn't even know you were making it fuck it, Andromeda has to go above Republic Commando because I don't
Man.
appreciate your lack of
No, don't do
understanding of the Star Wars lore. I didn't want to do it. He made
Can I-
me
can I
do
say
it.
something,
Commander
though?
Shepard, and this is my favorite list on the
He made me
Citadel.
do it.
Can I say something?
I'm
though?
sorry.
Can I
You
can I say something though? Like, I mean, but like, what isn't that the kind of quote that you wouldn't appreciate because it's from the Star Wars prequels?
But it's from the best.
It's from the
prequel,
best
though.
prequel. Well, technically, the best prequel was probably Clone Wars.
Yeah, but that was basically the first 3 episodes of the show.
Have you not watched all of the Clone Wars?
The movie is like basically the first.
Not
it was like
not the
pilot
movie.
for
I meant the show.
Oh, I've seen
I think
most
that
of
we
Clone Wars.
I think that we need to inverse this listing because Alex hasn't seen all the Clone Wars.
I've seen the.
That's fair.
I went down the list of like the best arcs and skipped everything else.
Fuck it, I'm changing it
I
back.
don't
You
know
skipped
about
Clone
that.
Wars. I'm changing it back. I've never done
didn't
this
skip
before.
Clone Wars.
This
I
has
watched
not,
all the
this has
good
not
arcs.
happened on this list.
Unprecedented.
This is a new thing for this list, but
know.
I'm changing it back. That Andromeda is back down at number 7 rather than being at number 3 because Alex didn't know how to shut up and take his win. So with that being said, I think
You know what? I'm just gonna keep saying bad Star Wars takes. Rogue One's a bad movie and deserves to not be a thing. Rogue One's bad. Solo's better.
I think KOTOR should be at the bottom of the list all of a sudden.
this next round is not going to go good for Alex. So right now the list stands with Hybrid Something from Nathan
Last
at number
Jedi was a
8,
good movie.
Mass Effect Andromeda from Alex at number 7, Chrono Trigger from Nathan at number 6, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance from Cozy at number 5, the entirety of the Metal Gear Solid franchise up till 4 by AJ is at number 4, Republic Commandos at 3 from Cozy, GTA Vice City's at 2 from AJ, and for now, KOTOR is at number 1 from Alex. So, we're into round 3. This is the wild card round. This is the round where I get to sort of, kind of choose what you guys are going to present because that's the way this game is played. So I've got a list of, you picked one of them off the list. So I've got a list of 14 games. I've got them sorted by genre. So I've got shooters, I've got sports games, I've got action games, I've got RPGs, and I've got platformers. So we're going to go in the order from leading to who is needing the points. So, right, oh, God damn it. We have a 3-way tie at first, and then we have Nathan. Woo!
If
You
you,
know
had
what?
kept the list the way it was previously, it would have
It
been.
was nice and cascading, but Alex
Yeah.
screwed it up, and because Alex screwed it up, he gets to go
I
first.
literally said I watched the best episodes of Clone
Yeah,
Wars.
but you didn't watch all of them. That context is important.
Is it?
Alex, shooters,
Why make a
Alex, shooter, sport, action, RPG, platformer.
I'm trying to think of if they would be games that I've actually played.
I hope they're not.
'Cause this will be. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna say I like first-person shooters. I'll say shooters.
I didn't say they were first person.
All right then.
Pick a
I
number
got,
between 1 and 4.
Got bamboozled. 3.
You need to argue why Siphon Filter deserves to be remastered. Go.
Isn't that the one made by Bend?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I think it would be cool because when Days Gone first came out, Days Gone had a lot of throwbacks to Siphon Filter, and there was like a theory going around that they were actually in the same universe, and so making a remake of Siphon Filter could make it relevant to both Days Gone and to that game again, and I think that would be really cool.
You didn't play Siphon Filter, did you?
Nope. It's a PlayStation game.
Yes, it was. And I'm glad you picked it because that was not a very good argument. And because of that,
Best I could do.
I still want to see it, so it's going to go above Andromeda at number 7.
I think that was.
Are you punishing Alex or are you punishing Andromeda?
Both? It's hard to... I can't punish one without punishing the other.
That's
it's,
true.
It's a catch-22, right? They're both Alex's picks, unfortunately. Okay. So now our list looks a little different. Well, actually, no, it's still the same. So... I don't want to do another game of rock, paper, scissors. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt here to...
Why don't you go AJ because he got the second pick?
Yeah, that works. AJ, I need a genre. Shooter, sport, action, RPG, platformer.
Let's go with sport.
I need a number between 1 and 3.
2.
I need you to tell me why SSX Tricky deserves a remake or remaster.
Wow.
Have you played SSX Tricky?
I have played SSX 3 and I loved
Good
it.
enough. Good enough.
I
Tell me
love-
why a game in that series needs to be made.
Listen, snowboarding games have gone out the window. We had Amped, we had Cool Borders, we had What was that old Nintendo one? 1080.
Snowboard Kids.
1080. Snowboard Kid is another one. Let's go to the one that truly mastered what snowboarding felt like as a kid, like what you anticipated it would feel like, and being able to do uber tricks, being able to conquer these mountains and everything. SSX was one of those, not original because it came out on the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox, I believe. The original Tricky. It's oh man, it's so hard to describe. The SSX 3 specifically is such a good game. They absolutely need to revisit that whole franchise and come out with either a new one or take us back to the old mountains, remake the old mountains in modern day with a modern day engine, modern day technology. Bring back the old characters, because oh my god, the characters had. Simon was my favorite. He had so much friggin' person. Yeah, that straight jacket, that was super cool. Oh my god. Now I'm just getting all nostalgic in my darkness.
I mean, that's the point of this game, right? Is to feel nostalgic about things we cared about.
Absolutely.
And
SSX is so good.
That wave of nostalgia that washed over you kind of got me too. And for that reason, I'm going to have to put SSX Tricky at number 5.
Oof.
Above Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
Oof.
Ooh. Well,
which kind of changed the way these rankings are looking, didn't it, boys?
it did.
All right. So, Cozy, since you were leading when this whole thing kicked off, I'm going to need a genre from you. Shooter, sport, action, RPG, platformer.
Platformer.
There's only one. We've already talked about it on this show. I need you to tell me why the rumored Super Mario Galaxy remaster needs to happen.
You know, the Super Mario Galaxy games were much beloved by video game people who sorry, I just
then
He's in his own darkness.
Momentary brain lapses.
Hello, darkness.
Yeah,
my
I was
old
in my
friend.
own darkness. And the Super Mario Galaxy games were beloved by gamers who own the Nintendo.
The play what?
However, the Nintendo Wii.
Okay. This is not going well for you. I'm just telling you this now.
However, the fact of the matter is that there were a generation of gamers who missed out on that. Maybe it was gamers that were just a little bit too young at the time to own the Wii. Maybe it was PlayStation and Xbox gamers who didn't see any interest in owning a Nintendo console at that time. Now the Nintendo Switch is out, and it's attracted a whole new generation of gamers to the console who didn't previously own the Nintendo Wii. And I'd say, you know, what a better time. There's no better time to basically remaster the original Super Mario Galaxy, maybe also Super Mario Galaxy 2 as well, and, you know, show it off to this entire new generation of players. It's easy to kind of look at the Mario Galaxy games and think at a glance, oh, every single gamer on the planet played those games. The reality is that that's not true. There's a large chunk of people that missed out, and I'd say that, you know, in this time that we're living in, we need, positive, challenging, yet supremely satisfying platformers and other kinds of video game experiences to bring a ray of sunshine into our dark days. You saw back there, I myself was suffering from the darkness ever so briefly. I myself and many other people like me right now need Super Mario Galaxy. And so that's why I think it deserves to go high on this list.
Cozy, you couldn't be more right. Super Mario Galaxy is number 1 on this list by a wide margin, mostly because I had to screw Alex over.
What a fake Star Wars fan. Fake fan.
I had a redemption.
Oh, really? Yeah. All right, Nathan, you got some catching up to do. I'm
Okay.
just gonna say that now.
Not my best showing.
You're gonna win this one. I have faith that you can at least make a good showing of it. So I need a genre: shooter, sport, action, RPG, and there's no more platformers. So one of those 4, please.
Well, nobody said RPG, so I'll take RPG.
All right, this is going to be a tough one. One of these could be number 1 for me on my list because it's my list. But we're just going to see if you pick number 1 or number 2.
Oh, it's a door A
It's
or
a door A,
B
door
option.
B. There is no door C.
Door B.
All right, you got to argue why Fallout New Vegas is deserving and people are clamoring for a remaster.
Can we know what the other one was?
Oh my
The other one was
god.
Pokemon Platinum.
Oh, good. I didn't get that one.
All right, Fallout New Vegas. Why does it need to be remade?
So Fallout New Vegas is the best of the new era Fallout games since Fallout 3. It has the best story. The Mojave Desert is the most unique setting that they've been in. Going to Vegas and being on the Strip, it's just amazing. Great voice work. You're not a vault dweller when this one starts off, so it's a little bit different. But the biggest thing that sets Fallout New Vegas apart from the other Fallout games is the way that they built. Not everything was black and white. There were systems of gray involved. And as you made people angry in some things, you'd make other people happy. But it wasn't just like everybody would turn off of you. There were shades of gray all throughout how you would be treated for the decisions you make during that game. And I love Fallout. I've played Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Fallout 4. I think New Vegas is the best of them. And because it wasn't developed by Bethesda, it was developed by Obsidian, a lot of people didn't give it the same chance because it wasn't a numbered Fallout game. But it is the best Fallout, and I think people have been wanting a remake of Vegas and Fallout 3 as a combo package. New Vegas should come out before Fallout 3 because it's the better of the games. There's no question about that.
He should go above KOTOR. Because that's true. Honestly, New Vegas is awesome.
Yeah, I know, but I want a remake of KOTOR more than I want a remake of Fallout New Vegas. And for that reason, I've put Fallout New Vegas at number 4 on this list, just below GTA Vice City, but above Star Wars Republic Commando. So, we've got our list. We've got our winner. From number 10 to number 1, we've got Siphon Filter from Alex. Number 9 was Chrono Trigger from Nathan. Number 8, we have Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I said it right this time, from Cozy. At number 7, we have SSX Tricky from AJ. Number 6 is the Metal Gear Solid series from AJ, which is kind of cheating. At number 5, we have Star Wars Republic Commando from Cozy. At number 4, Fallout New Vegas from Nathan. And our top 3, GTA Vice City from AJ, Knights of the Old Republic from Alex, and at number 1, Super Mario Galaxy from Cozy. And with that,
Yes.
Cozy is the winner of this game of 5x5.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all of my friends and all of my family
And we're out
members.
of time.
This
I'm
win is
going to
truly
have to
historic.
cut you off there. I'm sorry, Cozy, but we have to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I hear somebody needs to go
We do.
stream or something like that. That's weird.
Yeah, before that person has to go stream, however, we want to let people know that our topic of the show for next week is actually already
I
decided
was getting
upon.
to that.
I know.
I had a great transition and everything. You just blew it. It's fine.
sorry.
So next week, our topic of the show is going to be a game of player's choice, which is the one where we build a list together instead of, hating each other like we did this week. And that list is going to be the most important JRPGs of all time, kind of tying into the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So you can send any suggestions you'd have for that list. We'll read out some fan submissions. If you want to email us, that's pressyyz@gmail.com. Or you can just DM them to us on Twitter @PressYYZ. We'll put up some tweets before we record the next show to try to get some feedback that way as well. And speaking of Twitter, where can everyone be found on the internet? Cozy?
You can find me on Twitter @AlexCozina and on Twitch @CozyBearLive.
Nathan, where do you hang out on the interwebs?
You can find me at _NMAC and writing reviews for PS4blog.net. I talked about how I did Twin Breaker this week. I also finished my review for Grand Blue Fantasy Versus Arc Systems 2D Fighter, which is beautiful and very easy to get into.
AJ, where you at?
You can find me all over the internet at Times Hero, capital T, capital H.
Alex, where are you?
There is so much distaste in that.
Hurry up. Come on. Some of us have places to be. And that place is my
Twitter-
couch because I'm not allowed to leave the house.
On Twitter, I am blatantly _Alex. And on Instagram, I am blatantly Alex.
And you can find me everywhere at Mr. Mitch George. And with that being said, thank you for joining us this week, and thanks for playing.
Bye.
Last Jedi is the best
Bye.
Star Wars movie.